the most common mental health disorders and issues that I encounter when dealing with black men. Now, brothers, don't worry. I ain't gonna bash you. I got you. One of the first major things that I often notice with black men, depression and anxiety. A lot of the men that I encounter they're aware of the name. So like they'll say like, and it's gotten better over the years. Like there was at one point I was working where they didn't even know what depression or anxiety really was. They just was sort of speaking. And honestly, now that I'm saying it out loud, honestly, it's still kind of like that. They know to say, yeah, I'm depressed, but they're not pinpointing or able to see the behaviors that they do that's connected to the depression. So for example, a lot of men that I encounter isolate. So what they'll do is just almost as if fall off the face of the earth. Won't call nobody, won't reach out to nobody. That's when there's a lot of drinking happening, a lot of smoking is happening, and then a lot of times loneliness kicks in to that too. Because for the most part, a lot of black men, friendship-wise, and I'm gonna say this carefully because this isn't all black men. I'm just saying the men that I encounter. So when they come to me for services, y'all, they don't necessarily have a friend or a group of friends or a network to be able to actually go somewhere and literally say what the problem is. If they do, someone's gonna say something that's gonna be along the lines of man up. They're not gonna listen, or they're not listening. You're not getting what I'm trying to say to you, and that's very discouraging, especially for men. It already took everything in me to even open up to you, bro. And then you shut me down, and as men, once you do something to me, you ain't gotta show me twice. I'm straight. I ain't gonna open up again. But the problem is, it happens is they compound the stress, and then there's no outlets to there. And for some black men, they do have their outlets. That's why hooping, working out, the barber, a lot of people don't talk about it. The barber is a lot of men's therapist. The barber might be one of the only individuals in men's lives where they could sit somewhere and they actually can talk a little bit. So I'm going to take something back, but even with the barber, there's a bunch of other dudes in the room and all that, so you got to play it cool. You can't really get into all that. You know what I'm saying? Now, anxiety. I see a lot of impulsive thinking, a lot of racing thoughts, and then not having the capability of slowing down your thoughts without the use of substances, which is why weed is probably through the roof when it comes down to black men. But there isn't a component necessarily to be able to slow down, and then that takes me to the point of a lot of black men have a lot of childhood trauma. Now, don't get me wrong, we all have childhood trauma, but the issue with black men is that I notice is there's a lot of trauma, and then in our culture we sweep things under the rug and then we don't talk about these things. If I had the rates or the statistics to show actual trauma done to men or being tampered with, it'll probably be through the roof. And the only reason we don't have stats is because men ain't gonna talk about it straight up. And then that takes me to a whole nother conversation of family members doing things too. And then he has to sit there and have to endure watching the family member that, and he can say nothing to nobody. Some black men even had to open up to their father or their mother and they get shut down. I see a lot of fatherless wounds, and then a lot of people don't talk about, but there's a lot of mother wounds too. There's a lot of mothers